Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Storm, and it's been a little while since I've done one of these videos. I saw Batman vs. Superman earlier today. What can really be said? I mean, it's the one DC movie that every DC Comics fan has been expecting, has been hoping for years, and we finally got it. And I have to say, in all honesty, could have been better, I think. I think that Zack Snyder should really let go of his kind of, well, not iron grip, but some sort of grip over the DC Comics movies that have been done lately. His work with the Batman films has been phenomenal. No one can deny that. But when he moved on to Superman, that's kind of where things fell apart. I mean, Superman was Man of Steel, rather, was very. It was dark in kind of the wrong way. Very dreary. The colors of the movie themselves were washed out. It just really came off as just kind of. It was visually bland, and for me anyway, the plot for that movie just didn't kind of hold up. Not for me anyway. And that's kind of been translated over to Superman vs. Batman. While the movie itself doesn't look as dreary and washed out as Man of Steel did, there is still kind of an air of, I don't know, emptiness, I think? Maybe? I mean, it's just kind of the approach that Zack Snyder takes with the films that he does. Or at least when we did with Superman and Man of Steel and Superman versus Batman vs. Superman, whatever you want to call it. The plot of the movie itself is just kind of incoherent. I mean, obviously, since it's titled Batman vs. Superman, yeah, that's what you expect. Batman and Superman are going to fight each other for whatever reason, whatever the stupid reason that may be, they're going to fight each other, and we're going to look forward to that. But when it came down to it, when they actually got to into the meat of the plot, the two of them fighting did not make any sense at all. I mean, yeah, obviously, the film kind of opens up with... What did it open with? The film opens up with Bruce attending his parents' funeral, and they're kind of running away in grief and finding the inspiration to become Batman. Actually, if I'm being technical, it opens up with their murder in Crime Alley. Then it shifts to the funeral. But that aside, basically the movie really opens with Bruce getting to Metropolis, I think, for a meeting with someone. Yes, he goes to Metropolis for a meeting with someone, and this coincides with Superman's fight with Zod back in Man of Steel. Bruce is there for the death and destruction. He sees everything being destroyed in front of him. He rushes to the remains of Wayne Industries, or at least that one building. Was Wayne Industries in Metropolis? Well, I guess in this universe, I guess Wayne Industries is in Metropolis until I guess he moved it to Gotham. But Bruce goes there. He sees everything being destroyed. He sees who's responsible for it. Superman. And whoever this General Zod is, who knows if Batman ever... Well, it's Batman, so he probably figured out who Zod was eventually, his full identity and everything. But he goes there, sees everything happening, and immediately develops this hate streak for Superman. I mean, as well he should, honestly. I mean, Superman killed inadvertently, mind you, and I think that's the biggest problem. It was inadvertent. It was an accident. But I think the biggest problem for Bruce at this moment was the fact that it was an accident is the problem. He was careless in that fight with Zod, and many people died. There was so much destruction. It impacted Bruce a lot. And when you watch the film, when you watch the trailer anyway, when you see Bruce witnessing this fight, you just see this look on his face that kind of just screams animosity. Like, Bruce doesn't know exactly who this Superman is. Not entirely, but in this one moment, he knows that Superman is dangerous and that he's some sort of threat and that something needs to be done about him. So that's Superman. That's Batman's side of the story. Now, versus Superman's side of the story, I don't know, his was kind of weak, I think. I mean, granted, you would think that once you hear news of some sort of bat vigilante, then obviously you'd want to look into this. Some guy dressed up as a bat, running around and beating up criminals and branding them, which is new. That's a big problem I have with this interpretation of Batman. He's branding people. Now, granted, if you've read the Batman comics, or you've watched Batman the Animated Series, or if you play the Batman Arkham games, then obviously you've seen Batman do very shady things, as cool as they may seem in the moment. He's broken bones, he's knocked people out, he flat out just abused people, criminals anyway, that he's fought. But I don't know, him taking a brand with his own bat symbol on it and then actually hitting people with it and just emblazoning that on into their flesh, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like Batman. I mean, a broken arm you can fix, that can heal, I guess. You can recover from a concussion. But doing that, some sort of permanent damage like that just does not seem like something Batman would do. That part I didn't like. And also the fact that Batman went around killing people too, which I don't know, when I think about it, it just seems like they were trying to create some sort of excuse for Superman to hate Batman, I think, when I think about it. I mean, I guess so Batman's going around shooting people. And that's another big issue. Other than, I guess, Batman Year 2, which I never actually read that comic. I need to check it out. The cover of it itself is enough to look into it. And then there was also the last confrontation with Darkseid in Final Crisis, rather, where Batman actually picks up a gun to use it. I haven't read Batman Year 2 where he does pick up a gun. The cover of Batman Year 2 is literally Batman holding a pistol. So that in itself is enough to want to check that out. And in Final Crisis, when Batman had one last confrontation with Darkseid, he picked up a special gun. I honestly forget what kind of gun it was, but it was supposed to be engineered in a way to maybe, hopefully, kill Darkseid. But if it didn't, Batman would go down fighting, and that was good enough for him, I guess. He shot off a blast. I remember quickly, it did hit Darkseid, but at the last second, Bruce got hit by Darkseid's Omega Beam, so I think we threw that comic again. I don't remember exactly what happened, how that ended up. Okay, so Batman killing people with guns is already something that's just goes against the entire Batman mythos. Not counting those weird early issues back when Batman first came out, where he actually did kill people with guns. But after, I don't know, maybe a year or two of publication, they decided to step away from that. Like, those early issues were immediately, like, non-canon, with Batman killing people and using guns, and they strictly stuck to his no-kill rule, and his no-gun rule. At least conventional weapons, anyway. I mean, something like tear gas or something out of a gun like that, that's something he probably used, depending on the enemy. But an actual pistol, like how his parents were killed, obviously that's what it stems from. He doesn't want to use guns because of the way his parents were killed. They were murdered with a gun, so that's why he stays away from those. But him going around killing people is very obviously going to show up on someone's radar, and it does show up on Superman's radar, especially when the news starts going around of, again, some bat vigilante running around with basically the same disrespect for authority that Superman has been going around with, in all honesty. I mean, Superman has been a force for good, yes, but you can't deny the fact that he's a vigilante, and he's going around doing whatever he wants in order to stop crime. And that's basically what Batman was doing too. So, I mean, different methods, sure, but there's no doubting that because of the methods, they've got each other's attention, and not in a good way at all. I mean, when you consider later on in the movie when Clark and Bruce met up at Lex Luthor's party, they were already very standoffish towards each other. They each had their own opinions of the Bat Vigilante and this Superman. And very obviously, we know that, Clark is Superman, Bruce is Batman. But just in that one small conversation, they were already standoffish towards each other. They already had their minds made up, in all honesty, about who was right and who was wrong in that situation. I mean, a meeting between the two of them was inevitable, I suppose. But just the way things happened, it just. I don't know. It's just at one point in the movie, Bruce decides that he wants to use kryptonite. Yeah. Okay, let's back up for a second. Lex in the movie wants to use kryptonite, which apparently in this continuity manifests itself from Zod's attempted terraforming of the Earth back in Man of Steel. Somehow, through all that, some of the Earth, some of the minerals were transformed into kryptonite. So they discover that. Lex wants to use it as a deterrent towards Superman. He wants to use it in case Superman ever goes bad and ever tries to turn his attention towards the Earth itself to conquer it or to destroy it or whatever. There's something in their back pockets to help with that. Bruce finds out about this. If I remember correctly, he found out through hacking Lex's computer database to find information about the kryptonite. I think that's how he found out. But the difference is between Lex right now, in that moment anyway, or really maybe forever, maybe he's just lying in that moment about wanting to use kryptonite as a deterrent. Bruce wants to use kryptonite to actually kill Superman. Like, that's his goal from the start. Again with the killing. He doesn't want to use it as a deterrent. He doesn't want to come face to face with Superman once, and then stuff happens, they fight, he puts out the kryptonite, and then goes, if anything happens, if you do something again, I've got this. And I can use it, and you don't want me to use it. Not that. He wants to flat out hunt down Superman and kill him with the kryptonite. That's what Batman wants to do in this continuity. And it's just so odd. That part of his personality I did not like. I think another thing that was a little off. I mean, granted, I'm not familiar with every last little aspect of the Superman lore, so forgive me for this, but Superman, flat out threatening Batman when they actually meet for the first time in the movie, actually kind of threatening him, more or less, rather than trying to work out some sort of peaceful solution. I mean, in every other version, basically, Superman has done everything he can to work with Lex. Or at least as Clark Kent. I remember in All-Star Superman, when they escaped from the prison, Clark was just in utter awe of Lex. The fact that Superman has spared him so many times, the fact that Lex could do so much good with his knowledge and technology and his reach, his personal reach across the world with people he knows, the connections he has. He and Superman could do so much good together, but Lex just obsesses over trying to kill him, and that's something that Clark is just completely in awe of, and something that he accepts, but at the same time just kind of won't accept. Like, he tries as Clark to try and somehow persuade Lex to look the other way, to see things differently, and as Superman, so many times he could have killed Lex but didn't. What I'm getting at is the fact that you have someone as megalomaniacal as Lex. I mean, granted, again, in this movie, Lex hasn't gone to those extents yet. But again, you have someone who is that obsessive and that power-hungry as Lex versus a guy dressed up as a bat who runs around beating up bad guys. I mean, that's the sort of scenario you think Superman will kind of come to him and think, hey, we shouldn't be doing this. I mean, you shouldn't be going around trying to kill God damn it. Kill people. I just said it. shit. You know, I'm starting to think this whole thing is just hinging on Batman's, the fact that he murders people. If I can say anything, I think Batman wore, I think, 2 suits in the movie. Look, I have to skip past this because it's just Batman killing people. I think is probably the major problem with their relationship, the Superman and Batman's relationship. If he didn't kill people, if he was the same Batman as in every other continuity, not killing people, just breaking bones, causing concussions, making everyone hate him because of the fact that he just scares the shit out of people and throws them in prison afterwards, then yeah, Superman wouldn't have a problem with him. But as demonstrated in the movie itself, when as Batman, that's how I remember. Now I remember. Bruce did some digging and was able to like kind of backtrack Lex's footprints and find like all the shady people he was making dark deals with, and discover kryptonite that way. And then discover that Lex put it on a ship that he was gonna use to ship all of it to Metropolis. That's how he found out. But this ties back to my point though. As Batman, he tried to go and steal the kryptonite, and with just flagrant disregard for safety for everyone involved, he just completely destroyed everything in his path. I remember one point he shot a grappling hook and why did he do that though? I mean, he shot, if I remember correctly, he shot a few shots out of the Batmobile, either bullets or a rocket, I don't remember honestly, towards one car, incinerated it, like the other car or truck or whatever took off. Batman followed it, and for some reason, as he was going, he shot out a grappling hook to hook on to the first car that he blew up and drag it with him. I guess as some sort of like makeshift battering ram of sorts. Well, it's dragging behind him, so it's not exactly battering ram in that sense. But it was just smashing into everything and doing more damage. And Batman crashed into other people, into other vehicles and everything. And just trying. He was doing everything he could to kill those people so he could get the kryptonite and use it himself. It's just, I don't understand why this interpretation of Batman. I don't understand this. I mean, that's like the only way you could get the two of them to fight each other. I mean, in every other version, I guess you could say that their clashing ideologies was the source of their conflict, the source of their fights. Batman is brutal, again, hurts people, threatens people, just flat out coercion, but never actually killing anyone. Superman is, as powerful as he is, he's a little too soft on people. Like he tries to do as little as he can to take people in, unless there's a threat like atomic skull or something. Those clashing ideology. Superman sees Batman as too brutal. Batman sees Superman as powerful as he is, a little too weak. That clashing morality is kind of what drove their animosity towards each other when they first met. Or at least in any sort of continuity where they are fighting with each other when they first meet. This time, however, you can't help but see it from Superman's point of view. At least I can't. Batman is murdering people and doesn't really care. He's been doing this for 20 years, maybe? They said 20 years. He was Batman for 20 years in this continuity. Unless killing people is something new to him, lately in this time of the film. But even still, it just doesn't fit. And that's really the source of their conflict. Is just the two of them fighting each other. The Batman killing people and Superman not approving of that. But once more, again, Bruce saw what Superman can do. Shooting fire out of his eyes, flying, being able to crush the entire world in his hands if he wanted to. But it really that still doesn't excuse Batman killing other people just to get what he wants. So I think in this situation I can't help but but see it from Superman's point of view. But still, it's a kind of a very shitty way to get the two of them to fight. I mean, Clark fucked up in Man of Steel, destroying everything. But then to use that as kind of justification for Batman to kill people himself is just very poor writing, in my opinion. It doesn't add up. It doesn't fit the character. Lex Luthor's character in the movie was bad, I think. Henry Cavill, who plays Superman, and Clark does a very good job playing both characters. Playing Clark, who's mild mannered, who has a moral compass, who in the movie originally did try to take down Batman through news articles, even though Perry White wouldn't allow it. He has that sense of morality. That all that stays true to his character. Then you have Ben Affleck, who completely redeemed himself from Daredevil, playing, as he described himself, a burnt out Bruce Wayne. He's been Batman for 20 years. Robin was killed at some point in the past. They never said which Robin it was. Never said which Robin it was. I would assume Jason Todd, because that's who always dies. But there was only ever mention of one Robin, so I suppose it could have been Dick Grayson himself, the very first Robin. And, well, I guess we'll find out in Suicide Squad. If that cameo... Pardon me. Not cameo, but hint towards the Joker is anything to go by. When Bruce walked by Robin's suit in its case, the Joker's signature graffiti was written all over it. So I guess, in that sense, I guess... No, I was at the point. Yeah, it might have been Dick, because, again, no other mention of any other Robin, but we'll find out in Suicide Squad, which presumably takes place after Batman vs Superman. We'll see what happens when that movie finally comes out, and we'll see the continuity. It could take place before. We'll see. Like I said, Batman burnt out. He's been Batman for 20 years. He's seen ugly, evil shit as the Batman. Probably seen the likes of Killer Croc already. Seen the likes of the Joker, obviously. Probably has seen Penguin, Mr. Freeze, the Mad Hatter. Any other Batman villains I can name off the top of my head? Firefly, I guess. Speaking of which, there was one guy in the movie who I kind of thought might have been Firefly. Maybe. I'm jumping ahead again, but well, I'll just say it. I'm spoiling the entire movie anyway for this video. When Martha Kent, Superman's mom, was being held hostage, the guy who was about to kill her was using a flamethrower. For a second, I thought, is that Firefly? Is that going to be Firefly right there? Is it going to... I'm thinking Firefly. I think the guy was Russian, and Firefly isn't Russian as far as I know. Then Batman came in to save her. He shot off a round from his gun and hit the guy's the tank on the guy's back with a flamethrower. That whole thing went up in flames. It's Firefly. It's definitely Firefly. You know, there's no doubt in my mind that's Firefly. If he comes back, he'll be Firefly. If that killed him, it probably killed him. But it's this continuity. Of course it killed him. This is the new Batman we have. He kills people, and it killed him. But if he did survive, and I don't think he did, he's definitely going to become Firefly later on. If he comes back, if he lived and comes back, he'll be Firefly. Firefly's signature, if you didn't know, he's not a major Batman villain, but a recurring one anyway. Well, they're all recurring villains. Burnt over 90% of his body. He's a firebug. He loves fire so much that he let it cover himself. 90% of himself, in fact. He has to wear a suit that keeps him, basically like Vader's suit from Star Wars, that keeps him cool and temperature regulated. But he can't stay away from fire. Loves it so much he just wants to firebomb anything that gets in his way. and firebomb anything he likes. Cool boss fight in Arkham Origins. Was he in Arkham Knight? He was Arkham Knight, wasn't he? Was he? I don't remember. Shit, he was in Arkham Origins. I don't remember. Okay, so yeah, but Ben Affleck did a great job playing an aged Bruce Wayne, who has seen everything, he's done everything, and pretty much nothing can really surprise him, except again when Superman appeared out of nowhere and destroyed half of Metropolis. So that was a wake up call from him that he can't stop being Batman, not just yet, anyway. It was interesting seeing Wonder Woman on screen. I guess Gal Gadot did a good job. She did a decent job anyway, I think. Um, I will agree with though. One critic had noted that Wonder Woman was one of the best parts of the film because we knew so little about her, which I do agree with. I don't know if Gal Gadot has a natural accent, but if she does or doesn't, I don't know. The accent was a very good job for a very good touch for Wonder Woman, I think. Um, it's the small things. I don't know. The accent isn't important, but I think it was actually a nice touch for her. Unlike the other Wonder Woman interpretations I've seen, interpretations that I've seen. Look is back. Um, this Wonder Woman was a little more stoic. She seemed to have a better head on her shoulders. She wasn't as naive as Wonder Woman usually is. But she's been alive for almost a century, so she wouldn't be, though, would she? She fought in some war back in 1918, presumably World War One. Then she know that she stepped away from the world of man for about a century, and then she came back in Batman vs Superman, becoming an antique dealer or something. But the fact that we knew so little about her, the fact that she was on screen for so little in her civilian identity, and then again as Wonder Woman, again what a nice touch. We don't know a lot. We don't know a lot about her, which is good. So when the Wonder Woman movie comes out, we do get to see more of her. We get to finally get to learn her full past. We can see more of her personality, more of her power set, even though her power set basically is just super strength and flying and an affinity for magic to an extent. Her sword is supposed to be magic anyway. I think the best part of the film itself, though, was finally seeing the Trinity on screen for the first time ever on the silver screen. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman in that order. Batman holding a gun for some reason. I don't know why. It was awesome seeing all three of them on screen together fighting. Though I will say it was kind of lame to see Batman kind of outclassed completely. When Superman and Wonder Woman are trading blows with Doomsday, and Batman's on the sidelines kind of just watching everything happen, whereas any other version of Batman would have been in the fray. Yeah, he would have gotten knocked back a couple of dozen times, but we would have gotten back up and tried again using every one of his gadgets. He barely used any of his gadgets, I just realized that. Almost none of his gadgets. He used the Batclaw once. I would like more gadgets from Batman. I don't know. Man, but it was cool seeing them fight. Seeing that fight scene between the three of them and Doomsday was just fucking great. It was like watching Justice League again. Seeing this drawn out knuckle dragging fight. Knuckle dragging? That's not the right word. It was a flat out brawl anyway. Just a flat out brawl between three powerhouses going at it. And it was really, really cool to see Wonder Woman get beaten down, get back up, swing towards Doomsday. He stops her, clocks her back. She swings around again, just back and forth between the two of them. Just Doomsday ping-ponging her back and forth. And Superman getting in a blow every now and then when he can. He's blown back. Takes him a second to get up. He gets up, comes back. They're all just trading blows left and right. That had to be like the best part of the film. I mean, the fact that we finally get to see a real action, like a comic book in a superhero movie. I think that's really the first time. I mean, I think that's I guess as far as DC is concerned, that's the first time I've seen an actual comic book fight in the movies. Other than what we saw in Man of Steel, that was good. That was great and all, but this was better. That fight scene was much better. Seeing the monster that is Doomsday, just destroying everything in his path. I gotta say though, Doomsday's creation. Well, if I remember correctly, Doomsday is supposed to be some sort of ancient Kryptonian clone. So, they got that kind of right. I mean, he is Kryptonian in nature. So he's weak against kryptonite. Spoiler alert. The fact that Luthor created him from Zod's remains and his own blood, and somehow took control of the abandoned and now derelict Kryptonian ship that Zod had, him taking over so easily just by like reinserting that key into it, and then it obeyed him completely, and then he used all the technology in there to manufacture Doomsday from Zod's remains and his own blood. Why did they give him his own blood? I don't know. And also the weird thing that the fact that Doomsday could somehow absorb and disperse energy from his body, which I thought was just really weird. I mean, in the comics, Doomsday doesn't do that. Not that I've seen him do it. Doomsday's whole gimmick is that he's bigger than Superman, he's stronger than Superman, obviously not faster than him. But the fact that he has the reputation of being the one who killed Superman in the comics, and in the movies too, him dispersing energy, absorbing and dispersing energy, does not make any sense to me. Like, where did that even come from? I mean, maybe I'll see the movie again or something, but I don't. Where did that come from? Was that something that Lex put in that or something when he made Doomsday? I mean, if you see the movie, every time Doomsday takes a blow from bullets or gunfire, or even when they punch him or something, eventually, a little while after that, red energy starts to emanate from him, and then it disperses outwards in a big sphere, a big dome shape, causing widespread destruction. In the comics, though, Doomsday's big shtick. Again, he's bigger than Superman, he's stronger than Superman, he killed him, or put him in a healing coma, did that again in the movie. Doomsday's big shtick is the fact that he can revive himself. Whatever killed Doomsday, he will eventually revive from, and then become immune to what had killed him before. So if you chop his head off, he'll come back somehow, and then killing him, chopping his head off won't kill him anymore. If you throw him into the sun, that probably would end him, I guess. But he somehow was able to survive that and escape the sun's gravitational pull. Then throwing him into the sun wouldn't kill him anymore. I don't know. Cancer, he'd die from that, come back from that. Cancer can't kill him anymore. But the whole energy thing I thought was just weird. Why? Where did that come from? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess they made a more convincing reason for the Trinity to fight Doomsday by themselves. But then again, I mean, you can't kill. They're the ones who can kill him. Kryptonite's the only thing that can kill him. Kryptonite did kill him, and Superman. It just didn't. It just seemed so weird to put red energy into the film for Doomsday. He doesn't need that. He doesn't need that at all. The thing about Doomsday is it's just brute force and strength. That's it. Just a monster who can tank anything and everything that comes at him. I'm hoping on this. I'm hoping on this one little aspect, but it's just weird to me that they had to put that in there. I don't know. I mentioned everyone's portrayals of the characters. The first three anyway. The one person whose portrayal I had the biggest problem with was Luthor himself. I have nothing against Jesse Eisenberg at all. It was weird when they first cast him as Luthor because, for one thing, he's like far too young. Or he looks young. I have no idea how old he is, but at the very least he looked too young to be Lex Luthor. And another thing, a problem with this interpretation of Luthor was the fact that he was a bit too neurotic and a bit too jumpy for his own good. Luthor has always been charismatic and a bit suave, in my opinion, anyway. I mean, I guess that's debatable if you could say if he's suave or not, but I think he can be if he wants to. But Luthor has always been charismatic, always able to carry himself in a crowd of military personnel, businessmen, or just a cocktail party or something. He can carry himself very well and very elegantly. This Luthor, while being charismatic, could not carry himself very well. I remember doing his party when he got up on stage. He tried to do a little speech, and I think about it, the thing about his character that comes off as just too jittery, too neurotic was the fact that he, at least in this speech anyway, during this party that he was at, where Bruce and Clark first met. I remember him spouting off trying to. He is smart, but he spent too much time trying to sound smart, spouting off the origins of ancient Greek words, trying to fit his own personal history into a speech or something. And at the end of it, he tried to say something about power, having power, getting power, whatever, and he couldn't put the words together. Like something in his head, it was just kind of blocking him. Something about power, something, and when he couldn't put the words together, he kind of just freaked on himself, and then ended the speech right there, and then walked off stage. I mean, I don't know. This Luthor. That's the thing. I'm putting my hat. In the movie, it's revealed that Luthor is the one who is antagonizing Batman and Superman. He's been saying both the messages secretly to rile them up so they can hate each other. Okay, fine. That's standard fare for a villain. But why is my question. Why did he do that? As far as anyone can tell, Luthor has no reason to hate Superman. In the comics, he does, of course. We all know that. But in the movie, not at all. Unlike with Bruce, who saw Superman's power and destructive capabilities, he has a reason to hate Superman, or at least to trust him. Luthor didn't. I mean, as far as anyone's concerned, like he didn't even make the full jump into villain yet, at least until the events of this story. I mean, he's something against Batman too. I have no idea what he had against Batman. I mean, maybe he's afraid Batman would stop his dark dealings in Gotham or something. Any shady dealings he had going on in Gotham, maybe he thought Batman would stop that. Tangentially, maybe unknowingly stopping Lex Luthor's business plans. But whatever the case, Luthor had no real reason to despise Superman or Batman, particularly Superman, since they are mortal enemies in the comics. I mean, in the comics, we see Luthor doing everything he can to prove his superiority, to prove that he is the better person than any other human on the planet, much less in the same room as him. This Lex Luthor, again, was a bit neurotic, charismatic, yes, a bit full of himself, but that I don't know. In a way, he kind of got off on his own, on his own character. In a way, like after he kidnapped Martha, and then like basically teased Superman about it. He had photos of her being captured, tied up, and everything. And as Clark kind of got on his knees, panic just running through him about what was going on. Luthor sitting there, tossing the photos to him, laughing at the entire time because he made this almost omnipotent being kneel before him, which of course is something that Lex Luthor would love to do. But it's kind of the way he did it, though. The fact that he was kind of did it like a child. I don't know. There's something we're missing here from this Lex Luthor. I don't understand why he wanted to get rid of Superman so badly. You look in the comics, you see perfectly why. That Superman, again, this mysterious being from another world who comes to Earth out of nowhere and out of the goodness of his heart wants to save everyone, wants to be this big blue Boy Scout. Now, very obviously, just like Bruce Wayne in the comics, Lex distrusts him. And why wouldn't you? I mean, again, he's an alien from another world. You don't know who he is. I mean, he could be... He could have come here to kill everyone as far as anyone knows, to destroy everything, to rule over the planet. So very obviously at the start, Luthor distrusted him. And then eventually, that distrust just turned to flat out hate. And in some cases, it's in a little way... Pardon me. Pardon me again, sorry. In a way, admiration. Like I said, Lex likes to prove that he's better than other people. He wants to do everything he can to prove that Superman, this alien, that he's out to get everyone, that he's some big, bad, flying, blue boogeyman. Hey, that worked. Who can't be trusted. I mean, Luthor had his way. The Luthor that we know, he would go to everyone and warn them, hey, Superman, this savior of yours, he can't be trusted. I mean, who is this guy? We don't know who he is. He came here out of nowhere. He says he's a hero. He says he wants to save us. But we've seen what he can do. This man of steel, well, which is just so pretentious that he would call himself that, says he wants to help us. Well, I mean, hey, we have starving children all over the world. We still have wars right now. Now, the economy could be a lot better. What's he doing this to help us with that? He's not doing anything to help us with that. Because you know why? Because Superman is not human. He's not like you or me. He's not human. He is this monster. And if we don't band together as fellow humans, as fellow Earthlings, this alien is going to hurt us. He will turn against us, and he'll rule over us like some sort of dictator. Like some sort of god. He thinks he's God right now. He thinks that he's better than us because he can fly and he has super strength and he has heat vision. He thinks he's better than us. But I can assure you that I, Lex Luthor, do not hold that same mentality as Superman does. I'm like you. I'm human. I work hard. I don't have super strength. I have to use my mind to help me through my problems. Does he ever use his mind? Of course not. He can fly around and just do whatever he wants. Because he does do whatever he wants. I mean, how can you trust him like that? You can't. You can trust me. I'm Lex Luthor. I'm your friend. I'm human. Just like you are. But like I said, he isn't. Superman isn't human. He's not like us. He doesn't belong here. He came here and imposed himself on us. Now, dictators do that. Lex Luthor never did that. Lex Luthor has always been here to help serve the community with my company and my inventions and my machines. And Lex Luthor here has done everything he can to help humanity. Everything I have done has been to better mankind. Everything he has done, well, who's to say? He flies around, he punches giant robots that I make. He fights these other titans of destruction that he brings to us, this destruction he always brings to us. Why should we trust him? We can't trust him. He's not a good person, and I can prove it. Just give me the chance. I can prove it. Superman can't be trusted. He's not a good person. Lex Luthor, however, is a good person. Like I said, my company, my machines, I've done everything I can to serve the community. I've I have helped serve my fellow man. I've lived side by side with my fellow man. I do that. Does Superman do it? No. He has some sort of fortress of solitude, another pretentious name, somewhere up near the North Pole that he stays at. Now, can you trust some sort of strange hermit like that who says he wants to help people? No, you can't. But you can trust me, Lex Luthor. I know what's going on. I know what I'm doing. Again, because I am human, just like you. I am not some man who comes here from the skies and then preaches that he's going to be your savior. Lex Luthor doesn't do that, but Superman does. Now, really, who do you think you can trust? Who do you think is a good person? Someone who's pulled himself up by the bootstraps and built a company from the ground up and put his blood, sweat, and tears into all of this? Or do you think you can trust someone who does whatever he wants on a whim, who will do nothing but cause more widespread panic and destruction? That's all he does, is do that. It's just cause destruction. Now, Lex Luthor doesn't do that. Lex Luthor helps the community. And don't worry. Once all is said and done, once I've got what I need, and I can finally rid us of this menace, of this psychopath who thinks he's above the law, and who thinks he can do whatever he wants with his other superpowered friends out there in the flying satellite, or their Hall of Justice, or whatever they want to use, whatever they want to call it. After all is said and done, and Lex Luthor has proven himself worthy, don't worry, folks. I will humbly accept your nomination to be President of the United States. You have my word on that. Lex Luthor is someone you can trust. A fellow human, not some monster who came here from who knows where. He says his home planet is destroyed. Before we know, he destroyed it. Who says he won't destroy this planet? Now, really, who do you think you can trust? That is the Lex Luthor that we know. I mean, I just did that long, drawn-out, faux speech as Lex Luthor a second ago, but that's the Luthor that we know. A man who wants to do everything in his power to grab more power. Anything he can possibly do to grab more power, he will do. Anything he can do to make Superman look bad or make himself look good, he will do. Like for instance, in Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, the comics of the film, or near the comics of the film, nuclear warheads were going to go off, and only Lex knew how to stop them. And after being threatened by, I think, Superman, rather than disabling everything and turning everything off, Lex decided to override the overrides so they couldn't be disabled, simply because he wants to see everything be destroyed so it could all be blamed with Superman, or so it could potentially kill Superman at the cost of his own life. Luthor was willing to die just to prove Superman wrong, or to kill him even. This is a man who, again, All-Star Superman, who had an entire... Lex's whole thing has been the fact that he's again, like I just demonstrated, kind of, in my little speech, he has always been against Superman, always suspicious of Superman, even though Superman has done everything he can to help everyone. He saves kittens from being up in trees. He saves babies from burning buildings. He stops floods, any sort of natural disaster. He's always there to help people. Luthor, on the other hand, if anything, is worse than J. Jonah Jameson when it comes to Spider-Man. Every once in a while, Jameson will admit that Spider-Man has done something of good. Luthor, however, back to All-Star Superman, Luthor has always claimed that if it wasn't for Superman being in his way, that he could do so much good for the world. He could finally use his technology to help everyone, to usher in some sort of worldwide utopia. And in All-Star Superman, Superman had to fly away from the Earth for a year. He was gone for an entire year. Lex had all that time. Superman was gone. And when Superman finally came back, he pointed out to Lex himself. You had that time. You had all the time in the world. I was gone for a year. You could have done all the good work that you say you want to do, that you say you could do if I weren't here. Well, Lex, I wasn't here. I couldn't stop you. What did you do? You spent an entire year plotting for my return because, oh, he's going to come back, everyone. The alien's going to come back. He's going to conquer us. I have to be ready. I have to stop him. I have to do something to stop this menacing alien. An entire year to himself to stop, to do the good he says he wants to do, and he didn't do it. Instead, Lex spent a year plotting for Superman's return to kill him. And finally, at the end of All-Star Superman, Lex had to finally just solemnly agree that Superman was right. There was no denying it. You couldn't deny it. For a brief moment, he was able to get some of Superman's power for a second. And then when Superman was able to take it away from him, again, like I said, that little speech there, Lex, you had the time. My powers didn't change anything. You having my powers for a second didn't change anything. You could do anything you wanted while I wasn't here, so you claim, and you didn't do it. That is kind of Lex Luthor that we know. That's the Luthor that we know of. Not the one in Man of Steel, who is just so sketchy, and whose hate is so arbitrary. I mean, Lex in the movie claimed that his father was in East Berlin, I think, and had to bow before a dictator. So you could argue that maybe that's where Lex is coming from, that he's heard of his father having to do such things, having to live in a regime ruled by a dictator. You could say that, but again, Luthor didn't show any real animosity towards Superman, other than that little story there about dictators, maybe. But as far as anyone can tell, Luthor didn't actually have to live in East Berlin during that time, so he didn't actually experience that, at least in this continuity. I don't know any other continuity. And so some sort of weird childhood superstition he had about a portrait that hung in his father's old sitting room. Angels attacking a horde of demons, and like as Lex put it, he learned a long time ago that demons don't come from underground; they come from the skies above. Some sort of weird superstition that he held as a child and brought with him to adulthood. So somehow that influenced his ideas of what Superman could be in this movie. He also had his thoughts on God were along the same lines too. Even though he didn't live in East Berlin, to my knowledge, I don't think he did. He had to suffer under the tyranny of his own father, who was very brutal to him, and just allowed that stuff to happen to him in his childhood. So he came to the conclusion, which is something a lot of people come to: if God is all powerful, he can't be all good, because if he was, Lex wouldn't have suffered all the time as a child. But if God is all good, he can't be all powerful, because once more, he suffered as a child. As good as God is, then he can't do everything. which he somehow transplanted to his views of Superman. That Superman, all powerful that he may be, can't be all good, or as all good as he may be, can't be all powerful. But again, it wasn't. It was more like something he was trying to test, like he was just trying to prove a point against God himself, using Superman. Not any actual mistrust that he held. But just like something, some sort of uh, neuroticism. That's not a word. Neurosis that he held as a child that he somehow transferred to Superman. And again, and at the end of the movie, when he was in his prison cell, after he got caught, so pretty much, I didn't realize this. A coworker of mine pointed out to me that there's actually a deleted scene from Man of Steel, which involves Lex, which actually explains how he got caught in the first place, because after everything's said and done, all of a sudden you see Lex in prison getting his head shaved. And, Jesus Christ, he looks mad about that. I mean, he knows it's not the barber's fault for shaving his head, but, like, it's the situation itself. But Christ, you just know that he just wanted to get up and throttle the guy shaving his head. At least now he looks like Lex Luthor. Those beautiful red locks of his gone. He looks the part now. There was a deleted scene in the movie where Lex had returned to that derelict Kryptonian ship in that very same area where he first created Doomsday to begin with. Now, why they removed this, I don't know, because it actually is kind of important. As I think it is. I mean, considering what happened, it has to be important. Why it was removed, I guess it has to be non-canon now, because you can't put this back in. You can't use this back into later movies in the series, because you deleted them. You deleted the scene, so it's not gonna make any sense. But military personnel came into the derelict Kryptonian ship. As they were walking, something inside echoed out Alexander Luthor's name. Those military men came to the area where Luthor was, sitting in that same stagnant water, now filled with blood, and just gore all around. Gore all around. Blood and gore. And in front of Lex, something towering over him in that same pool of blood and gore was none other than Yuga Khan, Darkseid's father. Whatever he was saying to Lex, or doing to Lex, or whatever it was, he'd finished. He looked up at the military men, and then just disintegrated himself and disappeared. He ran off. And Lex very faintly just let out a very weak help. Just kind of squeaked out that kind of help. Because he was just, his mind was just destroyed after encountering Yuga Khan. If you don't know who Yuga Khan is, we know that Darkseid is the ultimate evil for the DC universe. He is power hungry. He is evil. He is monstrous himself. He's brutal. He rules over a planet with an iron fist, which he's cultivated into a religion dedicated to himself. Darkseid desires to conquer the entire universe, have everything and everyone worship him as their deity. As bad as he is, his own father, Yuga Khan, the most powerful of the new gods, was 1 trillion times worse. To the point that Yuga Khan was the only person, one or two beings that Darkseid ever feared. The other being Doomsday, actually. Darkseid encountered Doomsday as a child, himself as a child. Darkseid himself as a child. He encountered Doomsday once, and he has been scared of him ever since, all the way up into adulthood. Though apparently at some point he finally got over that fear. But the fact that he was even up to the point in adulthood when he had all the power in the universe, Doomsday still frightened him, alongside his own father. That's saying something. And even as an adult, Yuga Khan still scares Darkseid. He may have gotten over his fear of Doomsday to an extent, but Yuga Khan will always be the number one thing in existence that he fears. And the fact that he is around can only mean that Darkseid himself is coming. Now, what I'm getting at here is back to what I was saying about this interpretation of Luthor kind of being off, was the fact that in that prison cell, when Batman confronted him, after he confronted him actually, Luthor taunted Batman over Superman's death, and then after Batman left, Luthor was just kind of crazily ranting that he's coming, he's gonna come and get us. And really, I couldn't figure out what he meant by that. I mean, I figured it could have been something. It could have been Darkseid, honestly, because Darkseid is one of Superman's biggest villains. The other one, other than Doomsday and Darkseid, there's Brainiac. And I don't know, it could have been Brainiac. I mean, Luthor is a technology guy. He knows what he's doing. Maybe his machine satellites kind of picked up Brainiac's signal somewhere in the universe, and maybe he doesn't know what Brainiac is exactly, but he knew that Brainiac would be a big threat. Brainiac's goal is to collect all information in the entire universe for himself, and then destroy said universe. Don't know why, but that's what he wants to do. But as it turns out, Luthor was actually ranting about Yuga Khan in his deleted scene. Now again, I say that this probably can't come up again though, unless they have to reintroduce Yuga Khan somewhere later on in the DC extended universe, which is what they're calling it. They could call it the DC. They could call it the DC cinematic universe, but I don't know. It doesn't sound bad, but you just hear just a myriad of people saying, "Oh, they copied Marvel. They can't think of anything original." Like, who needs that? So DC extended universe, I guess. They're gonna have to reintroduce Yuga Khan unless they put that scene back into the home release of the movie. As a matter of fact, Barbara Gordon was in the movie originally in Batman vs Superman, but they took her out for some reason. I don't know why. But they're gonna put it back in the home release in like some sort of ultimate extended cut for the movie or something. But Yuga Khan being there means Darkseid is around the corner, and I don't know. Since Yuga Khan is the ultimate bad guy, but he's not seen. He's rarely seen because he was killed at some point in the past. He came back, was killed. That's right. He's stuck in the Source Wall. I don't think he's dead right now. Well, pre-New 52. Yuga Khan tried to get past the Source Wall to the Source itself, and ended up getting stuck into it. He got freed at one point, and then ended up getting stuck again when he tried to get to the Source once more. So last I checked, pre-New 52, he's stuck in the Source Wall again, at the very end of the universe. He's gonna stay there, possibly forever. I think Superman pulled him out the first time, but we'll get into it's a whole different story right now. I'm rambling off as it is. Yuga Khan isn't seen too often, but Darkseid is. So him being in Batman vs Superman deleted scene anyway means Darkseid's around the corner. So maybe in some future movie they'll have Yuga Khan seemingly being the bad guy, but then Darkseid will maybe come in and usurp his position and then become the new bad guy in the movie. We'll see. But yeah, I think everyone's taking their own characters was fine except for Luthor's. Again, nothing against Jesse Eisenberg. He did a good job at portraying a very charismatic Luthor, but I just don't. It just again, he came off too neurotic, too jumpy, too childlike in a few ways too. Whereas the Luthor that again everyone else is familiar with is suave. He's more confident in himself. He knows what he's doing. Even when he is rattled, he doesn't kind of like his body doesn't shake. You know, he doesn't have a mental breakdown. He'll get angry like any other person, even if it's Superman who's fucking him over. He keeps his composure to an extent. 12th level intellect after all. Yeah, like I mentioned before, the plot for the movie itself was incoherent. It started off really slow, and when they finally got to fighting each other, I mean, it's kind of bad. But again, the only reason Superman confronted Batman to begin with is because Luthor gave him an ultimatum: kill Batman or your mother dies. And when Superman went to Batman in the new cybernetic suit, which was pretty cool, that was actually cool. The first suit he wore in the movie, was supposed to be a throwback to The Dark Knight Returns. And then the cybernetic suit he wore, which I was hoping was going to be his main suit from now on, which it should be, honestly, to set him apart from every other interpretation. Ended up getting destroyed in this fight with Superman. What was bullshit though is that Superman came to Batman. Oh, again, weird. Here's something weird. Unless he uses X-ray vision at some points, and we just didn't want notified of it. Apparently, Superman automatically knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne. He actually called him by name when he went to confront him. He wanted to ask Batman's help in getting his mother back, but of course, as things go, Batman wouldn't listen. They ended up fighting, and Batman almost killed Superman using kryptonite. It was until he called out his mother's name that Batman finally stopped. I mean, this movie pretty much played out exactly how everyone expected it to. Some bullshit reason for the two of them to fight. They fight. Something happens to make them stop fighting each other. Everyone thought it was Doomsday. It was and it wasn't. It was just a lucky coincidence. It's a coincidence and circumstance that Superman just says you have to save Martha. That stops Batman from attacking with the kryptonite spear he had. Superman used that to kill Doomsday and himself later on in the movie. Yeah. I mean, parts of the movie were just bizarre. I mean, like I said, things really just kind of went off slowly, trying to get both sides of the story from Superman and Batman's perspective. That's fine and everything, but then afterwards, kind of get it going, then get to the fight that's supposed to happen, supposedly. But the politics of the movie just kind of dragged on a bit for me. Just after both sides of the story were told, then politics for the rest of the movie up until the Batman and Superman's fight. I will say though, I did like one part of Lex's genius, other than pitting Superman and Batman against each other, was when he tricked Senator Finch. When they first met each other in the movie, Lex is talking to one of her subordinates about trying to import kryptonite into the country so he can use it for his experiments. Finch came to him personally to say no. And that's really when kind of, for me anyway, when Luthor's character kind of started to unravel, and I kind of saw the kind of how sketchy he was and how kind of jittery he was. Not someone who's confident who could try to talk his way back into letting the imports go through for kryptonite, but just someone who was he didn't get his way, so he just kind of started acting out a small bit, just a small bit. Something. Fuck, wish I remembered. They said something to each other, to which it was sent to Finch saying blah 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 blah. You can call it Granny Smith's Granny piss for all I care. Yeah, I'm butchering this. What I'm getting at is one of the people who suffered from Superman's fight with Zod in Metropolis lost his legs and became an ardent Superman hater, to the point that Lex zeroed in on that, presented the man with a new wheelchair, and helped get him into the courtroom where Superman was being put on trial. And and the entire time, it was Luthor setting up Senator Finch herself, I think. Fuck everyone else. It was Finch herself that he wanted to be killed. On the desk in front of her, that caught her attention in the middle of a speech to Superman, was just a jar of presumably urine or apple juice, maybe. I don't know. Whatever the hell it was. She saw this weird jar, turned it distracted her completely. She turned it, saw the label on it, saw that Luthor wasn't in his seat for the hearing against Superman, and just that audible shock in her voice. She just breathed out or breathed in slowly. She realized something bad was going to happen. And the last second, she looked at the guy. I forget what his name is. He used to work for Bruce Wayne. Or maybe he still did. I don't know. And realized something was about to happen. His chair, his new wheelchair that Luthor presented to him was rigged with the bomb, or it was a bomb. And the last second, and this distraction didn't go by Superman. He saw that, realized she was distracted, and the last second, he himself looked at the wheelchair, or he looked at the guy sitting in the wheelchair. Everything blew up. And this does fit into Lex's character being spiteful. He couldn't get kryptonite legally because the Senator Finch stopped him from importing it. So to get back at her, he killed her and an entire courtroom of people using one of Bruce Wayne's own employees to do it. I mean, if that doesn't scream Lex Luthor, I don't know what does. That's one part of the plot for the movie that involved Lex that I thought was actually really good. I mean, it's a small thing. It's one small thing. That actually forced Superman to self-impose exile for a little while before he came back to stop Doomsday and everything, to stop Luthor anyway, and to save his mom. Yeah, for me, Batman vs Superman kind of is in the same category as The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was for me. Better than the first installment, which was Man of Steel, but ultimately still not good enough. I mean, again, the movie had a kind of a dreary atmosphere to it, like Man of Steel. Everything built very, very slowly, unnecessarily so, I think, with just too much stuff happening. When really what it could have been was just Lex Luthor. We get more of Lex Luthor's past himself. We see why he hates and even admires Superman's power. We have him set up the fight between the two of them. They realize something's gone wrong. Then Doomsday shows up. Turns out Lex did it in order to maybe discredit Superman or something. Say, hey, look, Superman did this. He made this creature to kill everyone. See, we can't trust him. Or Batman. Batman's helping him. Or this Wonder Woman character, whoever the hell she is. But instead, the whole thing just kind of kept going ping-ponging back and forth. The whole thing relies so much on Lex, but his plan just doesn't make any sense. Again, his hatred for Superman and why he wanted Batman out of the picture so badly. Unless he just wanted to torture Superman. Again, holding his mother hostage and then say, hey, go kill Batman. Just to make Superman feel bad, or just to, again, just make him look back in the public eye that he killed the Bat Vigilante. I think I have to go with Kevin Smith. He said something about it. Kevin Smith praised Ben Affleck's performance in the movie, but something he said, which I have to agree with, um, he commented that the film didn't really have a heart and was humorless, sorry, arguing that there seems to be a fundamental lack of understanding of what those characters are about. It's almost like Zack Snyder didn't read a bunch of comics. He read one comic, and it was Dark Knight Returns, and his favorite part was the last part where Batman and Superman fight. And that's a really big problem I think with a lot of superhero movies have in general. I mean, a lot of people who do them, who direct them at least, and produce them, they don't read comics. They never read a comic in their life. It's just they get a big project. They get a big project put in front of them. They get attached to do them. And it's like, okay, well, what can we do? What can we put in the movie to get people to come and see it? Like Spider-Man 3, for instance. Sony Pictures was just adamant on putting Venom in the movie, even though Sam Raimi didn't want him in it. Sam Raimi didn't like Venom at all, apparently, and didn't want him in the movie. And yeah, he shouldn't have been put into the movie, and that fucking ruined the plot of the film so much. I mean, Joss Whedon did the best. Joss Whedon actually is from comics, or he's done comics anyway. When he directed The Avengers, you got the perfect director for The Avengers. Honestly, you couldn't ask for anyone better than Joss Whedon. I mean, he created Buffy, Angel, Firefly, Dollhouse, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Huh. Oh, he co-wrote Toy Story. I didn't realize that. Oh, he did. He also did Age of Ultron. Anyway, Joss Whedon is the kind of creative person who's in that space. He's in that nerd space. He knows comic books, which is why when he directed Avengers and Age of Ultron, he knew what he was doing. He knew how to make those things work. Someone like Zack Snyder, I mean, actually, as I recall, I think in an interview he did, Zack Snyder actually did say he's not much of a comic book fan, or he's a Batman fan, but not that much. Like, he didn't read enough comics of Batman to actually get a good sense of his character. I think. Do not quote me on that. I think. Don't quote me on that. I mean, if you got someone like Joss Whedon again, or Paul Dini and Bruce Timm and Dwayne McDuffie, if he was still alive. I wish he was still alive. You get people who know what they're doing, who know comics, or who know that nerd space, then things would be much better. I mean, Green Lantern failed spectacularly because the acting was just so subdued in that film, and it just wasn't that. The acting itself wasn't very good. I had to draw a major criticism with the Green Lantern movie. It would be that. I mean, even Ryan Reynolds was stifled in what he was saying and how he was emoting himself. And what I'm getting at is that Batman vs. Superman seemed to just be too bogged down with trying to present like an angry Batman and trying to present a Superman who's trying to find his place in the world again. We did that first time with Man of Steel already. And then bring us this weird interpretation of Luthor. And then shoving in Wonder Woman at the last second, as well as very bad cameos with like found footage of Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman. I mean, those were kind of bad in my opinion. Like, very, very bad. We see Aquaman emerging from, I guess, a wrecked submarine and then jetting off. Flash is in a liquor store or something, and he stops the guy from robbing it. And we see Cyborg being put together for the first time by his father. Again, it's all of it's like found footage stuff though, which is, I guess it has to be. I guess it has to be security cameras and such. But it I don't know. This whole thing is sloppy. I mean, just trying so hard to get everything going. I don't know if the Justice League movie does some good. It has to be good. I mean, otherwise it's Batman vs Superman just again it falls into the same category as the Amazing Spider-Man 2 for me. Better than the first installment, but just not good enough. Here's the Suicide Squad, which takes place in the same universe. Batman's in that. Again, I don't know if that takes place before or after Man of Steel, at least. Maybe we'll see Robin in it. Maybe he's going to get killed, or maybe it's afterwards. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know, but from what I can see from the trailers, it may take place before Man of Steel. That's the kind of feeling I get from it. Also, a side note, I have to say, I don't like Harley's interpretation in this movie. First time we get Harley Quinn on the silver screen, and she's already a batshit crazy, clown-esque person. Harley didn't go crazy until after she met the Joker. She was a certified psychiatrist. Then she met the Joker. Then she went crazy, donned the clown makeup and bleached her skin and everything. Her being crazy already, yeah. Unless the scenes with the Joker in the movie are going to be flashbacks, and we see her become crazy and see how all that happens, I guess. I don't know. If that doesn't work out, we might have to wait till like another reboot or something to see a better interpretation of Harley. I don't know. So for me, Batman vs Superman, well, it's not a terrible film, but they could have done better. Kept the plot together better. Not have Batman have these weird, bizarre dreams where he's, again, killing people in his Batman suit with a duster on, and then somehow seeing a vision of the Flash, I think, shoving back from the future and warning him about something. Superman, I guess. If those dreams are just really bizarre. The plot was incoherent to me. The movie kind of dragged on unnecessarily at the beginning and took too long to get to a conclusion, to a climax at least. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman their characters were done great justice in the movie. Lex Luthor, not so much. That's all can we say about it. I mean, if you want to know more, see the movie yourself. Again, not bad, but could have been better. Well, we'll have to wait for the rest of the DC Extended Universe. See what Aquaman does. See what Green Lantern Corps does. I guess there's going to be a Flash movie. Even though they have a TV show now. But they already showed his Flash in Batman vs. Superman as a cameo. So, well, he has to have a movie. I don't know. Could you see Cyborg in the movie? If they do a movie for Cyborg, I'd like to see the rest of the Teen Titans in it. Interesting. Unless Justice League is just gonna have everyone thrown into it, and then we're not gonna forget about everyone having a little origin story. Hopefully, at least DC kind of learns its lesson a bit, or at the very least they step away from anything not called Superman or Batman. Because according to DC, the way that logic works for the movies, anything not called Superman or Batman is doomed to failure. And they've seen that with the Green Lantern movie. They're gonna try again, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, this video is a lot too long as it is. I've said my piece. I don't know. Sign up in the comments. See the movie yourself. Make your decision. But until then, I'll talk to you guys later.